When you were living in New York and you stayed with Costelli, how long, roughly?
Well,
after the show that everybody disliked so much.
I think if I had to do it all over again,
you would have stayed with
knowing what I know now, kind of nonsense, that we all say to each other, I would have stayed with Leo. Mm-hmm. But at that time, you see, I've done the picture that we're talking about in the show, and I traded with Ron Davis. Mm-hmm. And so I was showing the picture, and it was going to go to Ron. And Leo said, I got a German dealer who's going to pay $10,000 for that picture. And I realized, oh, God, I'm on my way, this is like what he's done with X, Y, and Z, mm-hmm. right? Push it into an auction, get a buyer, mm-hmm. pad. It's a setup in a certain sense. Yeah. It's business.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, And I just felt I didn't want to go that way. This is what I was telling myself. Mm-hmm. I don't want $10,000 a piece for my paintings because I feel the pressure on me is going to be too much not to do it any differently. Larry Rubin just happened to be opening a gallery mm-hmm. then, and the telephone rang, and it made it easy for me mm-hmm. to leave Leo's because Larry asked me to be in his gallery. So
and he was showing Jules too.
I think he was showing everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these were the...
That's when I started to know these guys other than, and Clem too, mm-hmm. When that change happened, when I left Leo's.
So you were exchanging studio visits with whom when you were showing at Larry Rubin's?
Studio visits were very few and far between with anybody. But they became my friends because mm-hmm. I didn't have any other friends, except maybe, I had new friends like John Chamberlain, mm-hmm. Neil Williams, Ken. Mm-hmm. I knew him from Vermont, Yeah. I mean, he was always very gracious. You could go mm-hmm. up to his house and just stay.
And that was the period when Jules Olitsky was teaching at Bennington mm-hmm. and Tony Caro was teaching at Bennington. Mm-hmm. That must have been pretty exciting, having everybody together up there. Didn't seem
I don't
that
know
way.
How it felt in that sense. I mean, people would fight with each other, and it's like just simple jealousy, confrontations. Meaning it wasn't peaches and cream. There was jealousies, mm-hmm. Who does Clem like more? That kind of jealousy. I mean, it was there.
Clem was very good at encouraging that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that Greenberg was a guy you wanted on your side, if you know what I mean.
Well, you didn't want him as an enemy.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
But, as you know yourself, I mean, he could be thrilling in the studio.
Well, as I'm saying, instinctively and intuitively, he pointed at something mm-hmm. which just clicked for me. He didn't say paint like this. Clem was not a painter. He couldn't paint his way out of a broom closet.
No, he couldn't.
But he didn't know about that. And then he gave the stain to Lewis and Nolan and Olitsky.
Which clicked for them.
Yeah,
which clicked for them. I mean, you've got to give him credit for being smart enough to. I know you do. Yeah. I know you do. But there's so much misinformation about Greenberg in the studio mm-hmm. about his telling
I'm
people
sure
to
all
paint.
of it is true. Because at some point it did happen. He took 3 people whose paintings were really not very good, showed him a stain, and bingo, got them out of the woods, painting-wise, into what you're talking about now, examples mm-hmm. of like their most successful work. I never felt that I really was that much a part of them. Mm-hmm. I was younger.
Quite a bit younger.
Which was ego boosting, to say the least. And I like this because Frank told me this once, and I realized it was probably true, even though I'd never thought of it before. Frank said, you already had something before you ever met Greenberg. Those guys didn't. That makes you different. Not better, but different.